All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. Those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this, all right? This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, everybody, guys and girls? Welcome back to another edition of the SmackDown Review right here on the WWE Podcast. As always, I am one of the hosts of the show, Michael Ritter. You can find me on Twitter at Michael5Ritter, and also one of the hosts of the Football Function Podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the SmackDown that aired on September 15th, 2023 from Denver, Colorado. Shout out to DJ Kuzmo for the location breakdown. Well, first things first, obviously. It's a great episode of SmackDown. We're going to get into it in its entirety, and we're going to break this bad boy down. But I did want to apologize for last week. I think it's pretty obvious that there was not a SmackDown review. And that is because I was out of town. I was actually in Atlanta watching the Falcons' season opening game for the 2023 campaign. And it's something I do every year. I'm sure if you're a longtime listener of this show, you know by now that I will go to Atlanta and other cities from time to time to watch the Falcons play. And whenever I do that, it usually interferes with my SmackDown review schedule. Unfortunately, I believe this was the very first time that it actually caused there not to be a SmackDown review for the week. I cannot remember the last time that there wasn't a SmackDown review on the WWE podcast, so I do apologize for that. It's definitely not something that I wanted to happen from the whole situation, but I am back, and I'm here to talk about the SmackDown, like I mentioned, that just aired on the 15th of September. And boy, oh boy, was it a good day to be in Denver. Like, if you actually went to this event, if you were there in attendance for this SmackDown, you witnessed history, because it was finally, if I can steal somebody's catchphrase, time for The Rock to make his return to the WWE, and we're going to get into that because it happened pretty much right at the top of the show. They knew what they were doing. They got the electricity early, and holy cannoli, as someone who was just watching, real time on my couch, I lost it. I kind of knew, whenever Pat McAfee, because he opens the show, welcomes us to SmackDown, and he's interrupted by Austin Theory, and they kind of go back and forth a little bit. We'll talk about what was said and all that good stuff, but first things first, whenever Pat McAfee had that pause, whenever Pat McAfee said, "It's the people's show," you know what that means. And it was just that little bit of silence that took place, and I kind of said to myself, like, my girlfriend was sitting right next to me, I said, "Is this The Rock?" Like, I mumbled it very silently, and then before I could even finish saying it, his music hit. And then I lost it just sitting right there on the couch because I knew how big of a moment it was. He finally showed up. I wanted to hear what he had to say, the look on his face. It just looked different, the lighting. Something about it felt really special, It wasn't just a, holy crap, it's a legend coming back to make an appearance on SmackDown. No, this was a pretty monumental moment. Like, The Rock hasn't been back on SmackDown in a pretty long time. I can't even remember for sure, 100%. The Rock has not showed up on SmackDown since I've been doing the SmackDown review, and I've been doing this since October of 2020. So I knew that this was a huge moment just because I haven't gotten a chance to talk about The Rock. Like whenever I went to WrestleMania 38 in Dallas and I got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestle for the very first time when I thought I'd never ever get to see him wrestle, that's something that just felt really good in a different way. But seeing The Rock appear on this show that I've been covering for well over 2 years, going on 3, we're really creeping up on 3, actually. It's like 3 weeks away. So pretty much 3 years, and I have not seen The Rock show up on SmackDown. And this meant so much more because we've been waiting for The Rock for a very, very long time. I can speak for myself. I gave up. I didn't think it was happening. Why would it? To be completely honest, if the actor strike wasn't going on, if the writer strike, whatever is happening in Hollywood right now, that's not something that I am an expert in, so I'm not even going to try to be. But if that wasn't going on right now, would we have John Cena and The Rock? John Cena's made an appearance. We just had the Summer of Cena not that long ago. But The Rock is a little bit different. We've been really clamoring for this. There's been a storyline, a WrestleMania main event that's pretty much just been floating around there waiting to happen, that's been writing itself, and they haven't been able to pull the trigger on it for whatever reason. We actually got some news today because The Rock was on the Pat McAfee show. Go figure. Pat McAfee always coming in clutch, breaking news like this, just having an interview with some type of icon in whatever industry they're in. And just because the conversation is happening so organic, so natural, things come out and things are said that end up being headlines, and they end up getting clipped because it's such a big moment. And whenever he asked him, like, how close was it? When Pat McAfee asked The Rock, how close was that to happening? You and Roman Reigns actually going at it. He literally said, Roman Reigns and The Rock, WrestleMania 39 in SoFi Stadium was literally locked in. He said he sat down with Nick Khan and Vince McMahon, and they had a conversation and they talked about it. And they pretty much agreed that it was going to happen, and for whatever reason, it didn't happen. They really didn't go into the specifics as to why the match fell through, but obviously it fell through. We got Cody Rhodes in the main event, and I feel like WrestleMania 39 was pretty good, but I truly think that WrestleMania 40 makes a little bit more sense. I'm a huge WrestleMania 20 fan. That's no secret. I will mention that and reference that any chance I get. If you guys allow something to creep up where it reminds me of WrestleMania 20, obviously, I'm going to bring it up. And now here we are, 20 years later, and we have an opportunity for another massive match. The Rock was on that WrestleMania 20 card. He had a handicap tag team match. The Rock and Mick Foley versus Evolution. The Evolution being Randy Orton, Batista, and Ric Flair. Obviously, Triple H was busy that night in the main event. But The Rock could be busy for the WrestleMania 40 main event against Roman Reigns. Now, it has to be built up because obviously the title is involved. We can't just have them set themselves up with this match and just keep that title pretty much pushed to the side, and not have it actually be defended in a meaningful program, because we all know that if The Rock is the one who's going up against Roman Reigns, number one, he's not going to win the championship. That would make absolutely no sense. I know that Matt's commented on it and said that if you know wrestling, if you are familiar with the way that they do WrestleMania title changes, and especially one like Roman Reigns, they're not going to give it to a guy who was over in the 1990s. They're going to give it to an up-and-coming star, somebody who can take that torch, take what Roman Reigns has built, and carry the company for years to come, maybe even the next decade. There are some people that are already on the roster, whether it's NXT, young people that are on the roster right now, that I feel like have an opportunity to be worthy enough to give Roman Reigns a run for his money and possibly be the one who dethrones him. As far as the championship goes, I don't think that The Rock is that guy. Doesn't mean that we still can't have this match. Doesn't mean that it's still not going to be extremely well booked, I guess, or just... It doesn't mean that the story isn't going to be badass. I don't feel like this story has ever really needed the championship, but because it's there, you almost expect that they're going to make it be on the line, which makes sense in some ways. I just explained why I don't think that it's necessary to have the championship on the line. But if you were to nitpick and split hairs, I could understand why they put the championship on the line. But that just pretty much ruins the unpredictable factor, I guess. It makes me feel like I know who's going to win it if the championship's on the line, but that's neither here nor there. We don't even know for sure if it's going to happen. But I know I'm not alone whenever I saw The Rock appear on SmackDown to think, whoa, this means something. This is the foot walking in the door, not the whole body. This is just the foot going in the door to set us up there. We didn't get any indication that, we didn't see Paul Heyman approach The Rock or anything like that. We didn't see any Bloodline members have an interaction with The Rock. So it's not like it was just pretty much set up for us to, run with it, that, hey, it's starting right now. They're setting it up in September. We're going to have about a 7-8 month build, and we're going to get to Mania. I don't think that's going to be the case in this specific program. I think it's going to be more Survivor Series to Royal Rumble time frame if we are going to have a long-term build for The Rock. That's whenever he can come out, and challenge Roman Reigns or just bump into him backstage or something like that. We could do something to get these guys to end up locking horns, but September is a little bit early, especially with how little we expect The Rock to be on TV. So they are just planting that seed, and I really appreciate that, because I know I can speak for a lot of other people. They were waiting for this day. They were waiting for that music to hit, and really, other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, there's no other music that can have that effect. Maybe The Undertaker's, if he wasn't here, we've seen The Undertaker enough over the past 7 or 8 years, whether it's his cringeworthy matches that he's had late in his career where I personally didn't really enjoy them, whether you're talking about the tag team match in Saudi Arabia, the one versus Goldberg, even the Boneyard match against AJ Styles. His final match wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, although it's better than some of the other stuff we've gotten from him. Even like the stuff he did with Brock Lesnar after Lesnar broke the streak. There's just certain wrestlers that absence makes the heart grow extremely fonder. And whenever you look at The Rock, our hearts were already fond for him. There was no need for the heart to grow fonder for The Rock. But just imagine what that, whenever you miss somebody, whenever you see him for the first time, you just have that urge to just run up and give him a hug, especially if it's a family member or something like that. And that's pretty much how we view The Rock as a member of our wrestling family, So seeing his music, just that elated feeling in your, in your body where you're just like, man, it felt like a little bit like a payoff. That pop was insane. Just shout out to everybody who was in Denver in attendance for SmackDown that contributed to that, because that's what it's all about, man. And when his music hits, what I was saying is, if The Undertaker took 4 or 5 years off and never came back, then yes, his music, that the gong would hit a little bit different than what it does right now in current time, which I don't want to try to undersell it or anything like that, because trust me, I understand. The Undertaker's music still hits 10 times out of 10, but there's levels to it. Like The Rock's music, whenever that comes on, just go back and watch the video. Go back and watch The Rock come out. There's even a little behind-the-scenes footage of The Rock in Gorilla, just pretty much, jumping up and down, getting himself psyched up for, coming out. And he hears his music, hears the pop, and he can't help but just grin. Just get that little smirk on his face, knowing like, man, you heard that, right? That was a massive pop. And that's something that's always going to happen for The Rock. No matter where he goes, no matter what show it is, SmackDown, Raw, TLC, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, it really doesn't matter. The Rock is universally loved. He's like Michael Jackson out there. Like the acting world, the movie watchers out there, everybody loves The Rock. And, whether you love Dwayne Johnson, that's a little bit of a different discussion. People have their opinion on him, so be it. But The Rock, which is his WWE persona, top 2, top 3 all time. And man, just when you talk about this SmackDown as a whole, having The Rock on here, having John Cena on this show, having LA Knight on this show, Paul Heyman getting some airtime. We had a nice women's match. There was a lot of stuff to enjoy about this show. There really, really was. Even AJ Styles, like if you could watch, probably 5 or 6 years from now, you can go back and look at this SmackDown. Look at every wrestler that had their image shown, their picture shown on this, or got any type of airtime on this episode. It's pretty damn impressive, man. I will say. Pat McAfee, another one. Like, come on, dude. Great show. This was a phenomenal SmackDown. Probably my favorite one in a very long time. I honestly can't remember the last SmackDown that I watched and had to come on here and talk about that. Had me feeling like this. And I felt great after some go-home shows, some shows where I knew that I was going to an event that weekend or something like that. So my energy levels were just higher. My excitement was on a different level. This is a little bit different. This is a regular SmackDown, but it was anything but a regular SmackDown if you actually watched it, because just the things that happen, that's what makes wrestling so great, is any given Friday, if I could just tweak that saying a little bit, any given Monday, even obviously any given Sunday if it's a pay-per-view or an old school pay-per-view now that they're on Saturdays. I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter when the calendar year you're in. This is supposed to be kind of the dead time, right? Not necessarily dead. That's more so really towards the end of the calendar year. But right when football season starts, getting into the fall, it's not WrestleMania season. It's not Royal Rumble season. It's not even leading up to SummerSlam. Like, this could be a time that you really take your foot off the gas. You feel like you do have the luxury to not feature your champion like Roman Reigns. So the fact that SmackDown and just WWE in general decided to deliver a 5-star show like this in the month of September, I have to tip my hat to them, and I'm extremely happy to be breaking it down for you guys. So let's go ahead and get into it. Like I mentioned, Pat McAfee opened the show, so that just kind of starts it off on a really good note for me. Really wasn't sure how it was going to start, to be honest. I kind of expected John Cena maybe. Those were the reports that I saw earlier today, was that John Cena was going to say hello to some familiar friends or some old friends. Clearly they were talking about The Rock, but you didn't want to get your hopes up. You really didn't want to get excited. I heard those rumors, I saw those reports, but I really wasn't trying to buy into them and I guess be a full-on believer until, I believe it when I see it when it comes to The Rock, and sure enough, that is what happened. But first, Pat McAfee welcomes us to SmackDown, just kind of giving the crowd a shout-out, talking about how he was in town for obviously College Game Day, and he just pretty much knew that he wasn't going to be able to miss out on this show. So Pat McAfee gets interrupted by Austin Theory, who says that the two of them have unfinished business. He says he's going to drop Pat McAfee and pretty much whoop his you-know-what. He even references Aaron Rodgers, saying that he's going to injure Pat McAfee, and all Pat's going to be able to do is sit at his desk and talk all day, which is pretty much what Pat does all day. So it's not really kicking him where it hurts, but I guess I understand what he was saying. Austin Theory goes on to say that this isn't SmackDown, it's Austin Theory Live. And of course, Pat McAfee disagrees, says that this will never be his show because it's the people's show. And you know what that means. And this is whenever The Rock comes out. There was that pause, that little bit of silence that just let the crowd kind of build up a little bit, so that pop was fresh. You don't want to let his music hit right when Pat McAfee's talking and the crowd's kind of,
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. And those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this. All right. This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
Involved a little bit is the way that I could phrase it, or maybe just being somewhat interactive with Pat. They wanted to wait till the crowd was silent, and then they dropped that, and it went from 0 to 100 real quick in the decibel section whenever you're talking about that stadium that they were in, because, man, I couldn't even imagine what I would do if I saw The Rock come out, how loud I would cheer. I was in Atlanta last weekend, and, man, my voice was gone by the second quarter. I feel like it's still kind of gone. Like, it's not all the way back yet, honestly, just from talking throughout the week. I've had to record other podcasts. So my voice has been somewhat busy over the past week. You'll have to bear with me a little bit. The chants that we got whenever The Rock came out, they were A1, almost like mid-season form from The Rock. Theory does ask The Rock if he knows whose ring that he's in, and then The Rock tells him to shut up. He tells Theory that he clearly doesn't know how all this works, and then says that he's finally come back to Denver. Theory goes on about how great he is, and The Rock looks to speak. Theory cuts him off and tells him that it doesn't matter what he says. The Rock corrects him and says it does, but more importantly, what the people say. He asks the people if they want to see him beat down Austin Theory, and then he calls him an a-hole, and the crowd rallies behind him and pretty much just joins in. The Rock says he has a theory of his own about Theory and says that he'll attack him in 3 seconds. Theory is the one who ends up going after The Rock, but The Rock catches him with a spine buster and the people's elbow. The Rock then calls for McAfee to land a people's elbow of his own, and McAfee does just that. And that's pretty much how that segment ends. It was about a 20-minute opening segment. That's how the show started. Was Pat McAfee, Austin Theory, and The Rock. And it was just electrifying. Even John Cena says it at the very end of the show when he's going out there and he's talking to the camera right there at the top of the stage. He says, man, they still got some energy. They've been witnessing a lot tonight. Let's see what Grayson Waller has to say. It was just a nice little moment for John Cena, just acknowledging that, hey, man, this has been a loaded show for this crowd. I'm glad they still got some juice for me being here at the very end of the show. Up next, we get a beautiful match. This is another thing, like, whenever a match like AJ Styles versus Finn Balor is kind of buried in the things that you talk about on a show, like, man, that must have been a pretty damn good show, because whenever I remember the things that happened from this night, AJ Styles versus Finn Balor is probably going to be like the third or fourth thing that even comes to mind, maybe even like fifth or something, but just a great match to kind of sandwich in between all this show, or everything else that was happening in the show. Dominic and Damian Priest obviously try to interfere, but they get sent back to the locker room by the referee. And as they're starting to leave, Jimmy Uso comes out. Pretty much comes out of nowhere and gives AJ a cheap shot. That does cost him the match, so Finn Balor ends up walking away victorious here. Let's see. We hear from LWO next. Pretty much just a little bit of respect. Santos asked for a United States Championship match against Rey Mysterio out of respect. And of course, Rey Mysterio accepts. And then Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits come out and call them out for a little bit of a awkward love fest they were having in the ring there. And this sets up LWO versus the Street Profits, which the Street Profits win. And then they try to attack LWO after the match, specifically Rey Mysterio. He was instructed by Bobby Lashley. The Street Profits were instructed by Bobby Lashley to attack Rey Mysterio. So, they're just pretty much trying to make a statement. That's all that the Street Profits are doing right now, along with Lashley, is they're trying to remind us, hey, we're not the same Street Profits. We are a little bit more brutal. We're coming for vengeance, and we're trying to take over the SmackDown roster. So starting with a team like the LWO, I guess that's a good little stepping stone there to get them to another group, or maybe, some championship gold. Who knows? Who knows what the Street Profits are up to these days? But up next, we get another match here. LA Knight versus The Miz. And I'm going to be honest, this was a pretty good match. Like, I truly think, and I could be wrong, although it's a subjective thing that I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's universally going to be agreed upon, but I truly think that this match was better than their SummerSlam match. Like, the selling was on point. They were landing some pretty good shots. There was a kick to the face that I saw multiple times Miz do to LA Knight. One of them, when LA Knight was standing on the outside of the rope, standing on the apron, and he was like about to kind of, throw himself up over the top rope, similar to what like AJ Styles and Seth Rollins and many other guys do. But the Miz caught him with a big boot, and it was just a nice little connection there. And then the code breaker that the Miz did on LA Knight late in the match. That was another good spot where I feel like the selling that LA Knight was doing was just completely on point. And it's just the little things. It's the little things that make his package so complete. Whenever you're talking about just LA Knight and his stock being so high, it's things like that, because he could really do everything that you ask him to do. But after this match was over and LA Knight grabs the win, he also grabs a microphone and says he wants to talk to Denver. He says that from the day he set foot in SmackDown, he promised to come for gold. He says that he sees all of the different options, and it doesn't matter if it's Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Seth Rollins, or even Roman Reigns. He says it's not just a catchphrase, because he is in the top 2% and he is not number 2. And then we head backstage to Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman discussing Jimmy Uso. Heyman tells Sikoa that he'll be forced to fight Jimmy's battles, but Jimmy isn't in the bloodline, and Solo only handles business whenever Roman Reigns gives the orders. Solo says that he knows what he needs to do, and he's going to finish things tonight. We also hear from Pretty Deadly backstage with Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce says that he hears that Elton Prince's shoulder is healing and that the tag team should be back in no time. Let's see here. We get another match. This is kind of just the rapid fire portion of the show. After the show started so long, obviously, with that 20-minute opening segment, we were able to kind of rush through some things. Like, matches happened, backstage segments happened. There was just a lot of stuff going on throughout the show that allowed these matches to not take up a whole lot of time. Like I said, the LA Knight and Miz match, that match actually really surprised me. Like, it really blew my expectations out of the water, because we already saw them go at it in SummerSlam. I thought, well, this is their second match. Could this be where they give Miz a win? It's not at a pay-per-view. But it was a really highly rated show. Like I wouldn't mind seeing the ratings whenever they come out, because hearing The Rock being the opening segment of the show, wouldn't that bring more eyeballs? Like once it gets to Twitter and people start texting their friends. I know I sent out a few videos. I recorded on my Snapchat. Once I saw The Rock, I was like, oh my gosh, if you're not watching SmackDown, guys, go watch SmackDown. This is a pretty big moment here. But during the women's match, which actually ended up being the final match of the night, we see Shotzi appear in the crowd, and that's pretty much what throws Bayley off, causes her to run back in the ring, which allows Asuka to successfully get the roll-up pin here. She is able to get the win, so that's really all that matters. But Shotzi Blackheart deserves an assist, and Bayley clearly has some issues there. Her and Dakota Kai had a little exchange backstage as well that really didn't seem promising. Bayley's definitely going to get that Edge treatment. You know, whenever Edge got jumped in the Judgment Day, and Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, they all just beat the living hell out of Edge. I could see something like that happening to Bayley, where those two, Dakota Kai and Io Sky, once Dakota's actually cleared to wrestle again and she could be more of an impact player here on this team, I feel like it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for Bayley to be the one who ends up getting that babyface turn. Because if you get jumped, you're not really going to be a heel. You know, like if Dakota Kai and Io Sky decide to turn on Bayley, then I don't necessarily think that Bayley would still be a heel. I don't know. That's just pretty much like formulaic as to how they've done it in the past. And I believe they did it not that long ago with Sasha Banks, maybe. It might have been somebody who had a weird babyface turn. It really wasn't as natural as it could have been, and it was pretty forced. But let's go ahead and move along to the main event here, the Grayson Waller effect featuring John Cena. And this being in the main event slot, I had a feeling that we were going to get some fireworks. I really, as to what to expect, had no idea, because we got a lot to start this show. The Rock was in the building. I wasn't sure if they were going to really try to squeeze every last bit of juice out of that by getting The Rock on TV as much as possible. And, you know, I just figured maybe we can get some type of interaction there with him and Grayson Waller, but that ended up not happening. But let's get into the actual interview here. Waller says that he asked Cena on the show for a reason, and then tells him he thinks he needs some help and some advice. He tells Cena that he needs to be more like him, and Cena looks to speak, but Waller continues to talk. Cena's had enough and takes off both his hat and his shirt. Waller finally gives Cena the chance to speak, but before he can, Jimmy Uso's music hits, and he makes his way down to the ring. Jimmy tells him that nobody wants him here, and everyone came to see him instead. He says if Cena tries to embarrass him again, then he should take his shot while he has it. Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman then march down to the ring and stare down Cena as Jimmy runs his mouth. Solo then goes after Jimmy and looks to hit him with a Samoan spike, but opts to superkick Cena instead and beat him down. Jimmy fires off stomps in the corner before AJ Styles runs down to provide Cena with a helping hand. The pair sends Solo crashing out of the ring, and Cena gets Jimmy up on his shoulders, but Solo saves Jimmy, and the show goes off the air. Shout out to AJ Styles for coming out. Like, that was just an OG, not OC, an OG moment for AJ Styles, because obviously him and John Cena are cut from the same cloth. And whenever it happened, I was trying to explain to my girlfriend who was sitting there. She's not really familiar with anything outside of WWE. I mean, she knows what AEW is, but she really looks at them as like the stepchild in a sense of like wrestling. She knows that WWE is the superior product. That's not a shot at AEW. It's just fact. It is what it is. I'm just saying that whenever this show happened, I was trying to explain to her, like, man, AJ Styles is pretty much the John Cena of the independent scene of TNA wrestling, just the same era that John Cena was dominating. AJ Styles was dominating as well, and he was one of the best wrestlers in the entire world. So seeing these two compete together and team up to help each other, and, you know, AJ Styles coming out to try to save the day, that was just pretty cool to see. I was definitely on board with AJ Styles and John Cena working as a team because, you know, I've seen them compete against each other. I was there at the Royal Rumble in 2017, San Antonio, Texas, whenever those two went at it for the WWE Championship. And John Cena actually won his 16th World Championship. He's still going for that number 17, still trying to break that record, but I was in attendance when he won that 16th against AJ Styles. So I'm all for seeing these two together, and that's just adds to how elite this show was. When you look at it top to bottom and you just read it out, like, because I watch Ruthless Aggression pay-per-views and things like that all the time. Like, I transfer and I switch what my good night show is. When I go to sleep, sometimes I'll watch something like, The Office, or it used to be South Park for the longest time. Here lately, I've just been going on Peacock, and I'll literally just pretty much throw a dart at the wall, and I'll land on any type of pay-per-view, whether it's No Mercy, Unforgiven, Judgment Day, No Way Out, and I'll go to a random year. Anytime in the late 90s or early 2000s, though, that's my thing. If it's past like 2006, I really ain't trying to watch it. But that's some good cards right there, man. Like, you want to talk about some of the stacked cards that were going on back in the Ruthless Aggression era? Out of this world. And seeing a SmackDown have this type of show, man, I had to just give them a little bit of round of applause, because, man, that was just a great show. It made me say multiple times, man, I love covering SmackDown, because it's so different. It doesn't feel as... I know it is. It's obviously all of WWE is like under the corporate umbrella and all that good stuff, but SmackDown feels a little bit off the grain, because Fox has their hand in it so much that it's just a little bit different. And spoiler, I'm not sure if you guys know or not, but Fox, from what I heard, is not interested in renewing their contract with WWE and SmackDown, because I heard the WWE is asking for a pretty penny for this, and Fox is likely saying, no, thank you. It was a fun, 4 years while it lasted, or whatever it was, but I think it's time that we move on down the road and go our separate paths. I heard Disney and Amazon, I think, is something along those lines, trying to acquire SmackDown. It's going to be interesting. I'm a Fox guy. I'm not going to lie. Whenever I heard this news, I wasn't excited. I was like, oh, come on, man. Fox is what the Falcons games come on mostly damn near every week, because we hardly ever play in prime time, because, spoiler alert, we're not that, almost cussed, we're not that good. So, yeah, we get buried in the noon slot on Fox with like the fourth best commentary team. And I love that. I love being kind of buried a little bit. But the Fox connection is why I really loved covering SmackDown. Not the only reason why, but it was just like a bonus. Like getting Pat McAfee on the commentary team, I was like, man, this is like a bonus here. Like, this couldn't be any better. And the fact that Pat's gone and now we're leaving Fox too, it's like, what did I do wrong, man? What's going on here? Just kidding, obviously. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it pretty much no matter what. I'll get used to it. I am enjoying this three-man booth with Corey Graves coming over to SmackDown. Obviously, Michael Cole being there already. And you're going to have to forgive me, because I cannot remember the other guy's name, the one that's usually in the middle there. And as soon as I stop recording, it's going to come to mind. I actually know his name. I've said it multiple times, but for some reason, it's extremely late. It's 11:12 where I am. I recorded this show after SmackDown went off the air, because I was extremely excited to get on here and talk to you guys about it. It was a great show, and I do feel like it delivered, and hopefully we can get more of this going forward, because, man, this is what makes you love wrestling, these types of shows. So hopefully we get a lot more of these in the coming weeks and months. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your weekly schedule to talk wrestling with me, to break down this SmackDown, and obviously talk about some of the big moments that happened. The Rock is back. We don't have to wait forever and just speculate, man, when is he ever going to just come and, I guess, break the ice a little bit. Like, let's just get him in the door, and then possibilities are going to start flowing in. I'm pretty confident WrestleMania XL in Philadelphia, Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Storybook right there. It makes so much sense. So I hope that it happens. But guys, thank you so much. I hope that you guys all have a damn good rest of your weekend. Walk passionately in the direction of your dreams, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com, because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day. And they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. And those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this, all right? This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also, their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day. And right now, you can save 15% on your entire order by using promo code WWE15. That's right, WWE15 will get you 15% off of your entire order. And starting August 28th, they are having their largest sale of the year on their Hyper Hippo product, 40% off. So you'll definitely want to check them out then. But anytime you can use WWE15 as your promo code to get 15% off your entire order. Check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. happyhippo.com.
Thanks for listening to the WWE podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.